Well, hello and welcome to another movie review by Movie Burner Entertainment. My name is Stephen and today I'm going to be talking about 2017's Armando Iannucci film The Death of Stalin. Now, the movie The Death of Stalin is based on a French graphic novel and follows the Soviet dictator's last days and depicts the chaos of the regime after his death. Writer and director Armando Iannucci, who I've been a massive fan for almost 30 years, doesn't disappoint in his latest project. Penned as a comedy, you'd be excused in thinking this is much darker than any comedy I know, and you would be correct in feeling that way. The Death of Stalin is a clever comedy, and I'm not trying to sound pretentious in labelling this movie this. Iannucci has taken an interesting angle in a deadly serious situation. I don't think I've laughed as much as I have for a long time. Before I go any further though, I have to state that all the characters in the film are satirical versions of the actual people, and this adds to the humour. Also, all the cast are speaking with their own regional accents, which makes this even funnier and unique. There is not a false Russian accent amongst them. Armando Iannucci insisted on not having the characters speak with Russian accents for two reasons. He thought it would take the audience out of the film, and he didn't want the actors to worry about their accent when improvising. The cast that assembled for this film is amazing, and none more so than Steve Buscemi. Seriously, this guy still amazes me. In the real world, he was a Soviet statesman who led the Soviet Union during part of the Cold War as the first secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union from 1953 to 1964. Buscemi's take on this guy is so odd and amazing at the same time. He comes across as a bumbling idiot that is filled with paranoia towards his fellow cabinet members, but to be fair, they are all like that with each other. But Khrushchev here is a very clever but devious character. Buscemi's delivery in most of his appearances on film or TV are always delivered with that quick deadpan wit, and here is no difference. Simon Russell Beale as Lavrenti Beria is amazing to watch and is possibly the most cunning of the group. Very early on you get to know very quickly what this character is about and the lengths he will go to. One of the very first scenes is Beria going through a series of locks and keys hidden in the office of Stalin, who eventually unlocks the secret vault to capture the files on his fellow cabinet members as leverage if discussions break down within their committee meetings on what to do next. He's doing all this as Stalin is lying on the ground in an unconscious state, ruthless or what. Jeffrey Tambor as Georgy Malenkov is such a calming and funny presence compared to Russell Beale and Buscemi. Malenkov was a Soviet politician who succeeded Joseph Stalin as leader of the Soviet Union, holding this position from 1953 to 1955. Tambor's version is strange and obscure at times, and compared to the others comes across as too passive at times, but this only adds to the humour of the character to me. Another cast member who stood out for me was the no-nonsense talking Field Marshal Zhukov, played by Jason Isaacs. Isaacs, although from Liverpool, appears to have a Yorkshire accent in this film, which I thought was genuine and funny. His delivery in every scene was hilarious, and his one-liners are what makes this film already very quotable. In reality, Zhukov established good relationships with the other commanders-in-chief, US General of the Army Dwight D. Eisenhower, British Field Marshal Bernard Law Montgomery. Zhukov as a Marshal of the Soviet Union was the most important Soviet military commander during World War II. These four characters all stood out for me, but the cast is so enriched with talent, I'd be here all day going through each and every one of them. Oleg Kurylenko, Paddy Constantine, Adrian McLaughlin, Michael Palin, Paul Whitehouse, Carol Johnson and Rupert Friend all have limited but memorable parts, and it only adds more depth to the characters and relationships throughout the film. I also love the way this film is shot, and yes, you can sense most of the scenes are improvised, which adds to the chaos and people running around like headless chickens. The film's pacing is so frantic because of this, and I think this style works for the situation. In January this year, The Death of Stalin was banned in Russia 2 days before it was due to be released, as one member of the Cultural Ministry Advisory Board was quoted as saying, "The film desecrates our historical symbols," which is fair enough, and to be honest, when this movie came out I honestly thought this would be the case anyhow. Overall, The Death of Stalin, I understand, will not be everyone's cup of tea. As previously mentioned, I enjoyed Iannucci's satirical wit and clever writing. The cast are amazing, and it's great to see such strong performances from them. The subject matter shouldn't deter your decision in viewing this, as political satire is something that is not new, and you can go back as far as Mel Brooks' 1967 film The Producers, Springtime for Hitler, a gay romp with Adolf and Eva, and a fictional musical. For me, this was one of the most enjoyable comedy films of 2017, and I highly recommend it.
Remember guys, if you're enjoying the content we're putting out, then do subscribe to us on YouTube at Movie Burner Entertainment and on iTunes and Google Play at the Movie Burner Podcast, whilst also giving us a little follow on Facebook and Twitter at Movie Burners. You can also catch up with all the latest reviews we're putting out on the Movie Burner blog at movieburnerintertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.